June 1st, 2017. My name is John Michael. I work with the Metro Codes Department, and I'll be making the presentation of each of the cases to the board today for their review. Here at the outset of the meeting, we respectfully ask all the members of the audience, would you please turn to silent or otherwise off all your smartphones, iPads, or whatever other devices, just so we don't interrupt the board's proceedings. Thank you for that help. In each of today's public hearings, we'll make a presentation to the board that includes photographs, site plans, maps, all the documentation that's been submitted, whether by the public or by other government agencies or elected officials, whether in support of or opposition to each of the cases. At the conclusion of the staff presentation of such materials, the board would then hear from the person who has filed the appeal for the case in question. The appellant will have the opportunity to make the desired presentation to the board and also have others who wish to speak in support of the appeal speak at that time. If the appeal, in fact, has opposition, then the board would hear from those parties next. Once the opposition's presented their testimony, the appellant will have the opportunity to come back and make rebuttal comments if they wish. Under the Board of Zoning Appeals rules, the appellant has 10 minutes to make the desired presentation to the board. If it's a contested case, then both sides have 15 minutes to make the desired presentation. It's worthy of note that that 15 minutes is shared. So if, for example, there were 15 people here to speak in opposition and everybody was just absolutely adamant about speaking today, they're all going to get about 1 minute, and you should divide up that time accordingly in advance. At the conclusion of each hearing, the board will deliberate and then vote on the case at hand. The board's vested with the power to act under these cases under 17.40.180 of the Metro Zoning Code. All the section numbers that we referred to today, in fact, come out of the Metro Zoning Code. The Zoning Code was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective countywide on January the 1st of 1998. I'll introduce the entire Zoning Code and make it part of today's record for each of the cases. The Metro Code requires a record of our proceedings today, and because these proceedings are in fact recorded for both Metro's public access television channel as well as for YouTube, which is posted at a later date, it's imperative that anyone wishing to address the board come forward to the table here in the front of the room, and once you've turned on the microphone, identify yourself by name and address, and then make your desired presentation to the board. The Metro Code also requires that 4 of our 7 board members be present in order to establish quorum. The code also requires at least 4 affirmative votes in order to grant an appeal. Pursuant to our board rules, an aggrieved party may appeal board decisions to the Chancery Court within 60 days of the hearing date. Additionally, an aggrieved party may file a motion for rehearing pursuant to the guidelines of the Board of Zoning Appeals rules and regulations within that same 60-day window. After that time elapses, no further action can be taken as the board's decision becomes final. For the appellants, if your appeal is granted, then you are required to obtain the permit for which you applied. You have 2 years to do so. After the end of that 2-year period, the approval that you receive from the board expires and you have to start over from scratch. It should also be noted that if any false or misleading testimony is presented to the board approval could be revoked at a later date by means of a show cause hearing before the BZA. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would submit that all cases have been filed in the proper order. All appellants have been notified by certified mail, and all legal notice requirements have been met for the cases before the board today. A preliminary announcement, case number 135, that's 2017-135 for the Shiloh Baptist Church, located at 1117 2nd Avenue South, is a case that will be deferred to a later date while more documentation is being collected for the case and recommendations from other government agencies. Case 135 will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman, as you know, this is the point of the meeting where we take an opportunity to recognize any elected officials who are with us today. I know just a little while ago I saw Councilmember Scott District from Council District number 5.
Scott Davis.
Sorry, Scott Davis. Councilman Davis, do you wish to address the board here at the outset of the meeting?
Yes, I do.
Very well. Councilman Davis.
Councilman Davis, welcome back to the BZA, and I'm sure you bring us good greetings from District 5.
I do, and I just want to thank the board members for volunteering their time, and I want to thank the Codes Administration and staff members for all the extra hours they put in at the one-stop shop. It's very busy there. They do deserve to get some extra help in this year's budget.
And there's a lot being built in your district, which is why I imagine you're here today.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm only here for 2 matters. The first one, you heard last hearing. It's the first case number 123, 2017-123. LV Homes LLC. This is an interesting case. The neighbor next door to this house originally brought this to my attention. At the time, the builder, built a huge bulb out over this person's property. However, since then, the builder has fixed it and corrected the issue. I know there was some concern because this house originally was built really close to the property line already, and the house was not in great shape. The neighbor next door to this house, besides the one that was complaining last meeting, is a older Vietnam vet. And even before this gentleman brought this to the BZA board, one thing I encourage, for the builders, my neighbors, to help especially the elderly people next door. This builder went beyond the call of duty before we even knew about this problem to do some repairs, to do about $8,000 worth of repairs to that Vietnam veteran's home.
No, wait a minute, Councilman Davis. I don't think I've heard this before since I've been on the BZA. So you're saying that basically this was used to be a contested case.
No, it's not.
And the neighbor helped the other neighbor while he was building something on his house with some repairs.
He was helping the other neighbor on the other side.
Other side, wow.
And
because he was a veteran.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
All right. And what happened, I guess last time, the other neighbor who was complaining against the applicant, originally, when Gordon built the bulb out, of course, I'm like, that's not cool, and he realized that he fixed it. He made a mistake.
Right.
And since then, they've talked with outside counsel,
Yes.
and they have a resolution.
Now, board members, if you remember, this was a case where the two people were kind of, should we hear this or not? And we encouraged them to just try one more time to resolve it, and it looks like that they have.
They've resolved it, and I'm here in support of Gordon and LV Homes. And just so that we're clear, the repairs to the veteran's home were done way before, this happened.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Even better. Good being a good neighbor.
So I just think there was just they're both good people. And I just think hotheads get the best of us, and, and everything has worked out. So please rule and support, if you can, for LV Homes, please.
To me, that's the kind of story that Brad Schmidt writes in the Tennessean about someone that's done good to someone just for the sake of being good and being a good neighbor and a good Nashvilleian. And I wish more people would do that. If you have these big construction crews over your house and the widow's porch next to you needs some coat of paint, go paint that porch, or have your church or your scout group do that.
You'll be surprised. It happens a lot in the 5th District. All right. Second case is case number 141. It's the last one on the agenda. I would love to stay for this one especially, but we have a budget hearing today at 3:30, and it's a work session, so I need to be there. Applicant is Reggie Howard. Now, I'm kind of very partial. Reggie lives in the 5th District. Reggie has been building houses for years. He's from Nashville. And if you're familiar with the Fern Avenue area, it's experiencing some changes right now, but there are hardships. Fern, there's not an alley, and when there are alleys, they're not finished. And also, it's extra rocky because it's on top of a mountain. So I don't know, I'm not a lawyer or a codes expert, but I know there's some topography issues there, which may be why they may need a variance. I do know that Mr. Howard may be running late. Hopefully he'll be here. But I have no issue with this. I please encourage you to help him. If you can't rule in his favor, I would love for it to be continued so I can be here.
Yeah, well, that's two different things. So you said he's running late, but if we continue it, we could continue it now based on is there anyone here in opposition to case 141 on Fern Street? Okay. So, John Michael, help us out here. What are our options and what should we do? Or David, do you have?
I think since it's last on the agenda, it may be a little while before the applicant shows up, but I do think that with the council member's recommendation, if it appears that there's concerns where we wouldn't approve the request, then I think that out of respect to the councilman's request, I think we could express those concerns and defer the case so that they could work out maybe some of the concerns.
Yeah, so-
and not necessarily deny it outright. But I think we could give the fellow a chance to get here and.
Oh, he just showed up.
Okay, I tend to agree with you, and, Councilman Davis, as you know, during public hearings at the Metro Council meetings, if there's the public hearing and they ask if anybody's here in opposition, and if there's not even in opposition and 10 people are in support, they sit down and they just go about their business. So you have no one here in opposition, so today is probably a good day to be arguing this case.
All right, thank you.
Yes, and the person just showed up too, so good luck with the budget. Thank you for being here as usual, Councilman Davis. John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, I have every expectation that all the other cases on our docket have also been worked out in advance today and likely will require no board action. But just in case, we will note that the board, of course, utilizes a consent agenda. And the benefit of the consent agenda is that we have one board member who will then review each of the cases on the docket before the board hearing and identify those cases where appellants met the criteria for their requested action. For those cases, if the reviewing board member determines that testimony in the case would not really alter the material facts, and it's recommended for our consent agenda. We'll enter into the record those cases that have been so recommended for today's meeting, and if anyone is here in opposition to one of the two cases that have been recommended for the consent agenda, please signify by raising your hand. Make sure that I see you. We'll just withdraw that case and hear it in its normal order today. The first of the two cases is case 2017-133. Mark Miller, the appellant, Douglas and Mary DePease, the owners of the property located at 211 Cumberland Circle in Council District Number 15. The request is for a variance from front setback and non-conforming requirements in their district to construct a covered porch addition. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 133? Seeing no one, the second case so recommended for the consent agenda is case 2017-134, the New Life Apostolic Assembly, the appellant and owner of the property at 3399 Creekwood Drive, requesting a special exception in a residentially zoned district in order to use an existing residential property as a church. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 134? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, those are the only two cases recommended today.
Wait, John Michael?
Yes, are you here in opposition to case number 134, sir? Yes. Very well. That case will be removed from the consent agenda and heard in its regular order. With that, case 133 is the case recommended for consent and solicit board action at this time.
Okay, we have one case this meeting on the consent agenda, case 133. It's been properly moved to the consent agenda. Is there a second? Second. Okay, case has been, motion has been made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? John Michael.
As the consent agenda is passed, the parties for case number 133, although welcome to stay, are also now welcome to leave. Your case has been approved. You can see the code staff as early as tomorrow to see about that.
Yes. Sometimes the excitement's about the predator, sometimes the excitement's about a variance.
That's exactly right. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, then in just one moment, we'll begin with the first regularly scheduled hearing. I will take a moment to speak with the appellant for case 134 so that he can speak with those who are here in opposition.
Sure, absolutely. And speaking of our Nashville Predators, we are very proud of our, it seems like still upstart hockey team, but they are, of course, in the Stanley Cup Finals with the defending champion. So, we wish them well, and they will be back in Smashville on Saturday night. So, any other comments about the world as we wait? We don't have a test pattern here at the Metro Nashville Network. Although we could have like a test pattern of Beverly Briley, in the background. Last thing so while I'm making announcements, historical announcements, it is June 1st. June 1st is Statehood Day in the state of Tennessee. On June 1st, 1796, George Washington signed the document making Tennessee the 16th state in the Union, so we celebrate our statehood on June 1st.
Should be a holiday.
Yes, and of course that's when we had our Centennial Exposition, but we ran out of money during the period of time, and it was a year late in 1897. So, John Michael, I know you're ready to move on, or we could take up hours on things.
Lest we pass another centennial while waiting for the first case to begin, I'll get us started. I apologize. Thank you for that indulgence of a moment there, Mr. Chairman. Case number 2017, number 105 is the next case to come up. Mr. Jose Lopez is the appellant and owner of the subject property located at 124 Apollo Court East, shown here on the zoning map, an RS 7.5 zone district. Mr. Lopez is present. Please feel free to come forward. The request before the board is for a variance from both height restrictions and rear setback requirements. The aerial photograph shown here gives you an idea of the accessory structure to the upper right-hand portion there, which has both the height issues and the rear setback issues. Obviously, it's already constructed, and therefore this is an after-the-fact oriented request. The site plan shown here gives you an idea of the proximity of the, back right corner of the accessory structure and its proximity to the rear property line up against Mr. Rodriguez's property on Manatee Court. The request is to reduce the 3-foot required setback for that accessory structure down to about 1.5 feet. As for the height, from my recent site visit and the photograph shown here, the height is required to max out at 16 feet. This is actually 24 as constructed. Therefore, that is the variance request before the board today with regard to height.
I had a question. From the aerial view, it looks like the outbuilding is taller than the main structure. Is that just an illusion?
It appeared that way to me both from the aerial and when I was on the ground there. Mr. Lopez is probably better equipped than I to speak to that, but it does appear to be the case.
Okay, so I have a question. Isn't there some, even regardless of what our standards say, isn't there a law that talks about a outbuilding or structure not being taller than the main residence? Is there such a law?
That is part of the zoning code, so any contemplation of a variance from the height restriction is tantamount to being, simultaneously a variance from that height restriction with regard to the relativity to the primary structure on the property.
But that's really been the intent of the zoning code, that they didn't want an accessory building to be taller than the main building on a piece of land.
That's been the consistent application of that section of the code, at least. And, of course, I'm always loath to speak to intent of the legislators who passed that, but that does seem to be a consistent focus of the council as they update these laws.
Okay, thank you. John Michael, for next.
That concludes the staff presentation. Mr. Lopez, is there anyone here in opposition to this case? Although there is no one here in person in opposition to the case, I believe board members have a letter from the district council member, Tanaka Vercher, who is unable to be here today while dealing with a family medical matter, and we wish them the best, of course. But you have that letter in your packet that came in just last night, and I know she addressed the board the last time this case was before the board 2 meetings ago. Although there will be no one speaking in opposition, Mr. Lopez will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation to the board. Please feel free to proceed, Mr. Lopez.
Oh, press the button and please start. The red light? Yeah. Press it once. Yes.
Okay. Okay, my name is Luis Lopez, and I'm living on 124 Apollo Court East. And I built this garage with no permits, and I know I make a big mistake. I just want to know what I can do right now to fix the...
So you live here, right?
Yeah.
And so you said you built it without any permits. Are you a builder or developer for your profession? What do you do?
Well, I'm doing some tile work. I do
tile work?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So why didn't you get a permit?
I just don't get it down.
You didn't get it because of what? Why?
I thought that I don't need it since there was already a garage there. I just turned out the old garage and then just built this one.
So, as you probably have now learned, part of getting a permit is so certain restrictions and zoning could be applied, adhered to, but it's also, if you were to try to get a permit and you submitted this plan and you went down to our codes department, they would say, well, you can build a garage, but you have to build it 3 feet off the property line, and it can only be 16 feet high. And so now we have a building that is already built, or at least the outside of the building is already built. And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, and maybe my colleagues will have other questions, of why, I mean, so you thought just because the garage was in this site, you could just build it, so how did we get here? I mean, you've done tile work before, you realize that, when you do construction work, there's permits to be gotten, so why didn't you think this large project required a permit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I'm just don't get the permit, and
How long did it take you, no, you didn't have a permit, what?
I'm just a screw up, and I just never get the permit, though.
Okay. How long did it take you to build this?
It's probably 8 months.
Did you do it all yourself, or did you hire other people?
No, I have a friend of mine to help me to build them up, though.
Okay. Questions, other board members?
Go ahead.
What's the purpose of this building? Is it going to be an apartment or what?
Yep. Yeah, what's my parents? My parents-in-law, they just come in every year, and they stay for like 4 or 5 months, and we don't have enough space at my house, and so I just build them to that way they can stay in there for 4 to 6 months. So.
You said your parents-in-law?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you build the new building on top of the foundation of the old garage?
Yep.
So the old garage was exactly the same size?
No, actually, there was bigger. I poured some more concrete on the back. Yeah. There was a smaller than what it was. Probably it was like 16 foot long, and now it's like a 24.
John Michael, I have another question. I noticed that by looking at this overhead shot, these buildings seem to be very close to one another. Is there anything in the code that there's supposed to be a certain amount of space in between structures like this?
Actually, the International Building Code, and more pointedly, the International Residential Code, governs separation of residentially used buildings, and I think what is a minimum of 6 feet between two. We see that issue come up a lot with traditional HPR developments where you have two homes that are built very close together. They've got to have that 6 feet between, or in the alternative, have whatever kind of fire-rated walls. I think a 1-hour fire-rated wall, and that starts to get outside of my bailiwick because that's the work handled by our Plans Review Division in the Codes Department.
You visited this site. It does not appear by looking at this that there's 6 feet in between these structures.
It's tight, Mr. Chairman. Certainly, I didn't go onto the property, as I tried never to do so, and certainly didn't try to measure that. But of note here, this is RS zoning, meaning residential single family, which is a complicating factor for the notion of using the accessory structure as a dwelling. There are certain circumstances under which an accessory structure can be used for dwelling purposes, even in RS districts. That's not even an issue that's before the board today. You're not looking at use as much as you are just looking at the structural issues, just the height and setback. It is probably another hurdle to cross, though, in terms of what permitted uses would be available to the property owners.
So I'm looking at this picture right here,
Yeah.
and I count, not including what's over there, 8 different vehicles. What are those vehicles, and why are they on your property?
Okay, my brothers that used to live with me, but they're already gone. So
Are all 7 or 8 of those vehicles, are those your vehicles?
it's I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 vehicles.
So where do
Right
the
now.
other 3 or 4?
Like I said, my brothers used to live with me, but they already live somewhere else. So.
Is this shed over here where the roof is that part of your property?
Which one?
Where the car is?
No.
No. It's
This is the neighboring property?
It's a living. Yeah, it's another
Neighbor.
house.
Okay. So, okay, other questions?
When you added the concrete, did you add it towards the back property line, or did you bring it front towards the driveway?
To the back.
Okay.
Other questions? So, what are you asking? So today you're asking us to, so you understand what happened. There's laws related to how far you can build on the rear property line. Our code for this particular area says you're supposed to build only 3 feet to the rear property line, and you built 1.5 feet. So it's encroaching on that rear setback. And the other part of our code says you're only supposed to build 16 feet high, and you built 24 feet high, so 8 feet higher than what the code says. And then we're not even talking about what we talked about, the 6 feet in between the two structures, which is part of the International Building Code. So what reason are you giving us today to allow you to keep a building that you had no permit on and that you built too high and then the rear setback? What is your reason? Why should we do this?
There's no way I can fix that. I can just move the, I can turn out the height and just load it like at 16 foot high and move the back to probably whatever you guys tell me, 6 feet or.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit, the height is probably easier from a building standpoint to take some height off and lower it. I don't imagine it's probably very easy to chop off 1.5 feet of the rear building. So I guess I'll ask you, are you willing to drop the height from 24 feet to 16 feet? You are?
Yes, yeah. Yes, I do, yeah.
The question on the, I'm looking, you have a strange shaped lot, and John, could you show us the over, not that one, the other, that one. It looks like the encroachment is on two corners and not the whole two sides. Is that, that it's the two corners of the building that are too close to the neighbor's property, not the entire side of the building? Does that make sense?
By looking at John Michael, is that correct, do you think?
Yes, again, please.
So we're looking at this structure. We're thinking that the 3-foot encroachment is related to these points of the building, not like the whole rear part of it.
Or
like
the side.
That appears to be the case, yes. That's kind of what we thought on our initial review as well.
Okay.
So it's the rear, so the side setback, there's not a side setback issue. The side is 3 feet. And it's just that back corner, it's just that slight back corner of the rear that's the setback issue. So it seems to me like the most egregious offense is the height, and that is what we just talked about. So I just want to make sure I understood that.
Any more questions before we close the public hearing? Okay, we're going to.
I want to ask John Michael.
Oh, yes. Well, John Michael's talking to some people. We could share some more great Nashville or Tennessee history for you.
Let me hear the history.
Well, it looks like some things are getting settled, so we're happy about that. John Michael, Mr. King has a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. King.
Although the property is RS, single family, correct?
RS 7.5, you've got it.
And by admission of the appellant, it's going to be used for another dwelling. Is that egregious?
That sounds like the intended use, and although I have not reviewed the case for any potential eligibility of a second dwelling on the structure, as you know, RS zoning, residential single family, generally indicates you cannot have a second dwelling unit on the structure. So although that's not what's before the board today, obviously I guess the appropriate use permit for that structure would be required before it could ever be used that way, and I am not positive whether they're going to be eligible for that. So obviously, I think you're on the nose. You don't want to give false hope with regard to what we're reviewing here today, or giving any mistaken idea that this is some sort of tacit acknowledgement that that's okay to use it without having the appropriate review by the zoning staff.
Okay.
I just wanted to ensure that any decision made today did not make that okay.
Right. You're correct. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. It's time for deliberation, discussion. So here we have a case where someone did not get a permit. So those who are watching at home on channel Nashville, Metro Nashville Network, know that we have a whole office of people that issue permits, building licenses, short-term rental licenses, and if you don't get the proper permit, there's a couple reasons. I mean, there's rules related to height and setback and fire safety and other things that you need to comply with. So We have the structure built without a permit, and now it has two problems. One being it's too tall, the other it's in the rear setback. So any suggestions on how to handle this?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the rear setback because of the way the pie-shaped lot turns, and it's unusual. It does have an extra turn, right, that will clip that corner. The property line and the backyard of the adjacent neighbor seems to be well landscaped with mature trees. A visual block seems almost natural there. I don't have a problem with the rear setback. I don't see a hardship for the height, and I think that particularly since it's higher than the existing dwelling, it was built again without a permit. I just can't find a hardship there, and since the applicant said he was willing to lower it to the right height, I'm happy to support a rear setback, but not the height variance.
John Michael, remind us when someone builds something and doesn't have a permit and they later get a permit or come to us and say, oops, what do I do? What is their kind of penalty that they have to do in that situation?
What kind of penalties are there?
Yes, when
I
you
believe
finally get your
by
permit.
law, there's a triple fee attached for work that was done without a permit when you then come in to get the legally required permit after the fact. And to the question of penalty, I think that's probably what you're referring to. That's
Triple
right.
fee, okay. Does anyone have a motion?
Sure. I'll move to deny the height variance request, but approve the rear setback variance request.
Okay, the motion has been made and properly seconded. Mr. King?
Do we need to put a note in there about the use of the property as a,
Yeah, we could. That it should not be used for living.
Dwelling.
Dwelling, yes. Is that
I'll add that to the motion.
okay? Is that acceptable? Second.
I think if codes allowed it, I think it has to be used for code-appropriate purposes. I mean, if codes ever allowed it to be a dwelling, there's no reason
Right,
for it
sure.
not to be, but
But under the single-family structure?
I don't think that's allowed. Zoned RS, you can't have a
No, it's not.
dadu, you can't
No.
have a second dwelling, so I wouldn't even want to put that in there.
Any more discussion about this? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Let me explain to you what happened. So you're going to have to bring down the house to 16 feet. You said you already agreed to that. We're letting you keep the rear property line.
Okay.
But you're still going to have to talk to the people in the codes department and get a permit for this.
All right.
And you're going to have to pay a penalty because you didn't get a permit the first time. So like I said, you're going to have to bring this down to 16 feet.
16 feet, okay.
And the rear, you don't have to move, okay?
all right?
Okay,
I'm
but
agreeing,
talk
yeah.
to the codes people sometime in the future.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
and make sure you understand about whether you can use that as another dwelling or not.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand, yeah.
Okay, John.
Mr. Chairman, we had previously discussed case 2017-134. This was the New Life Apostolic Assembly located at 3399 Creekwood Drive. That had been previously recommended for the consent agenda. We pulled it off. The gentleman who's here to speak in opposition, having learned more about the case, does not stand in opposition and asks that his recognition of opposition be removed. With that, I would solicit from the board a new motion to add this back onto the consent agenda.
Okay, I will move that we put it back on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of case 123 being on the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And thanks for that bit of diplomacy, John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, the next case is the previously referenced case 2017-123. Gordon Greel, the appellant on behalf of LV Homes, LLC, the owner of the property at 926 Marina Street, had, of course, previously requested a side setback variance. The board heard this case at some length at our last board meeting. You've already heard from Council Member Scott Davis on the topic. You may remember the layout of the subject property as well as the neighboring property. We heard from that neighbor, of course, with regard to the proposal for construction or addition to the subject property. The recent site visit showed those photographs and the view up and down the street as well as across the street. So with that, Mr. Gill has the opportunity to come forward and address the board once again. However, based upon what the board's heard, Mr. Chairman will defer to how best to proceed based upon the board's preference.
I want to hear from the applicant, actually. The applicant's here. Come on. And John Michael, yeah, please talk to them. Have a seat. Identify yourself and your address.
Thank you for hearing me. I'm Gordon Gregg, and the address is
Oh, press the button.
speak. It's Gordon Gregg, and the address is 926 Marina Street. I reside in Franklin, Tennessee.
Thank you for working this out,
Yes, sir.
and thank you for helping out a Vietnam veteran. That is above and beyond the call of duty, and
Yeah.
we Nashvillians are unique people, and that's what we do. And like I said, I've never heard that kind of case here before, so I hope that others will be inspired to do similar actions. And like I said, it was good that the council person spoke about this case. And does anyone have any other questions before we? Because I just wanted to thank you and bring you up here.
Mr. Willie
again.
was a unique, to the house to the left there, he's lived there for 42 years. And he and his wife were just able to purchase the home a year ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so it needed a lot of repair. So we did that before we even started on the new house.
That's what being a good neighbor's for. So thank you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We're going to close the public hearing. Any discussion about this? Do I hear a motion?
And I'll move that we approve the side setback variance for the expansion of the non-conforming structure because it meets all the requirements. And specifically, the original house was built a little too closer to the property line, and the addition just extends the line of the natural house in a way that makes sense to this property.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been properly made and seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, oppose? Thank you again.
Thank you very
Good luck
much.
with everything.
You can be blessed. Thank you.
And since John Michael is not here, more history, yes. Did you know? Well, we'll talk about Metro Nashville Network. I encourage people to join Facebook. I don't know, they're probably Facebook Live the budget hearing right now, but if you have your mobile device, follow them on Facebook, and you can see some of these hearings on Facebook Live. So, John Michael, you interrupted a Metro Nashville Network commercial, so we approve the other unanimously, so we're ready to move on.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. That'll bring us up to case number 2017-132. This is, for the first of today's meeting, a short-term rental property case. Paulette Black's the appellant and owner of the subject property at 1605 Klingman's Court in Council District number 28. The request is, of course, an item A appeal challenging the zoning staff's denial of a short-term rental permit, the denial having been predicated on the appellant's operation of a short-term rental property before obtaining the legally required permit. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 132? Seeing none, Ms. Black, if you'll come forward at this time and make the desired
John Michael, I
presentation.
think in the back there is someone in opposition.
There is an opposition, very well.
Yes.
So Ms. Black will have 15
Yes.
Ms. Black will have 15 minutes to make the desired presentation. Any opponents wishing to speak will have the same 15 minutes.
And John Michael, while she's making her way up here, can you give us the brief kind of 30-second history of why short-term rentals are regulated and what our process is in this procedure?
Since, I think it was April of 2015, the Metropolitan Government has required anyone who wishes to operate a short-term rental property to obtain a permit from the Metro Codes Department, thus allowing them to operate a property for renting out any period of 30 days or less.
And then the BZA's role is what?
The BZA's role is somewhat limited in that it's basically an opportunity. Once someone is denied a permit based upon having operated without a permit, the law requires that there be a 1-year wait period before that appellant is allowed to apply again.
So
Not a
if you
1-year wait period until they
advertise-
obtain one,
Yeah.
but until they can apply for one again. And that could be the advertisement, the booking, let alone the actual renting out in a warm body coming to sleep in a bed.
So if you do not have a permit for a short-term rental and you operate one, the punishment is 1 year Up to a year of not being able to operate a short-term rental.
That's the administrative side, correct. And as the board members know, there is also a more directly punitive effect in terms of fines that can be levied through an environmental court case if, in fact, a warrant is issued and it goes to court. That's a separate channel with separate punishments in play. But here at the board, you're hearing a determination of, number one, whether or not the zoning staff erred in denying the permit. And if you determine that, yes, they did err, then the appellant can come in the very next day and apply for their permit. If, on the other hand, the board determines, no, staff did not err in denying the permit application, then the second determination for the board is there any reason to decrease the one-year wait period to any shorter period based upon whatever facts and circumstances that you hear in today's hearing?
And just last month, we had a case where Metro took someone to environmental court, and that came in front of us, actually. What happened there?
I don't remember which case it was. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
But the outcome, they got 3 years, right?
But I know there's been at least one of those.
Yeah.
Council may be in a better position to speak to that as she prosecutes the majority of those cases now.
Let's talk to our lawyer. What happened?
I don't know which particular case you're referencing. However, the law does say, and we have in a handful of cases found, actually more than a handful that have come before the BZA and gone to environmental court. The difference being, if in environmental court they're found guilty of operating without a permit, there is a mandatory 3-year injunction.
Mandatory.
So while the BZA has discretion of up to a year, the court does not have discretion, and there shall be 3-year waiting period.
If you're in violation of this statute without a permit, and Metro, not us, takes you to court, and you're found guilty of that, it's an automatic 3 years.
If the court finds you guilty, yes, there's an automatic 3-year injunction.
Okay, thank you. John Michael.
Mr. Chairman, the aerial photograph here and then street-level photograph here show the subject property in question. Because there is opposition present, Ms. Blank, you'll have 15 minutes to make the desired presentation. If you want to save a little bit of that back to use as your rebuttal time, that's absolutely fine. Just do so out of this originally allotted 15 minutes. With that, please introduce yourself by name and address the board.
Okay, thank you. My name is Paulette Black, and I live at 1605 Clinton Court. And I started my short-term rental on November the 29th, 2015. And at that time, Airbnb did not require any permit that we had to have, because I hired someone that was a professional person to set up my website. And when they set up the website, we made a customer service call to Airbnb to find out what did we need. So what we did was, they said that's all we needed was to get our website set up and our prices, and also to go out and have a fireman to come and inspect the inside.
The fire marshal's office.
Yes, the fire marshal. Thank you, sir. And they did, and they came out and they inspected all the fire alarms. We set exit signs on each door that lit up at night. The house is not cluttered at any time, so they gave me the approval for that. So I moved farther along in the Airbnb, and then I joined the board of the Pinnacle Point Homeowners Association. And being on the board, I wanted to find out, were there any restriction? There was nothing that was in the bylaws that they already had written. I have a copy of the Pinnacle Point Homeowners Association board to show that I was on the board. And I also have the new sheet from where Pinnacle Point has turned it over to a property manager. And in the board of directors here, it shows about a sign that cannot be placed out on your property. And I have a copy of that today, because I was required to put a sign out to let them know that I was going to reappear for court today. So I have that information.
Is this your personal home?
Yes, it is.
So this is an owner-occupied?
Yes, sir. I live there.
And then when tell me what happened when you found out, I guess at some point you found out you needed a permit. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I went to an Airbnb meeting that they held in Nashville for the first time, and it was in, I think it was probably in April. And as I went in, I started speaking to other people that had just started their Airbnb, and that's when they informed me that I needed to come and have a permit.
When the folks at the way it normally happens is you go to codes to get your permit, and they say, well, you've already rented it, because I see the reviews, which we have copies of, and so you have to come before us. And so when you did that, and they told you, hey, you're operating this illegally now, you don't have a permit, did you stop renting the property?
Yes, sir, I did.
And so you haven't rented the property since you
No, sir.
were told, hey, I need a permit? Okay.
That's correct, sir.
What date was that? Do you remember?
Let's see. That was November of 2016.
Okay. So,
And I'm sorry, yeah, the only other thing, I mean, and I appreciate you mentioned a homeowners association and that type of thing, and just for your information and anybody else that's concerned about that, because there were a couple of folks that had written letters saying, hey, it's against our homeowner association policy or whatnot. That's between you and your homeowner association.
Yes.
We don't have anything to do with that. That's a private agreement between the homeowners that live in a particular neighborhood that might have an agreement that they live by. So we really don't have the need to see nor desire to see anything that relates to homeowners associations, because that's something outside our purview.
I have a question.
And Mr. Vice Chairman, if I may, that's an important note here at the board. That's 100% true. One of the more recent amendments to the short-term rental law includes a provision whereby our staff does review an affidavit declaring whether or not there is any sort of homeowners association covenant or guideline that would restrict this kind of operation. You're 100% right, though. At the board, not the issue.
I want to ask, ma'am, you said you went to a B&B meeting in April. You didn't say what year, and that you stopped renting in November 2016. Was that April of 2017 or April of 2016?
April of 2017.
But you had already stopped in November?
2016. I'm sorry, 2016.
So it's been over a year since you
Yes,
found out.
ma'am.
Okay. But you continued to rent from April 26 through November 2016. Is that true?
From the time that I came in and request and had to fill out my forms, and they said that no longer, that date is when I stopped with my Airbnb.
so there are no future bookings for this address and this property
No,
that you
sir.
booked out? Okay.
No, sir.
And you said, and
It's been over a year.
And it was 15 when you said you first went to Airbnb, and I think that was probably the time when we were seeing a lot of cases where Airbnb didn't. I think now on their website it says, hey, you got to have a permit, but there was.
Yes, sir. It was exactly November around the 29th of November.
Okay. Yeah, so I know there was a time that Airbnb did not have any help to homeowners to say, hey, in Tennessee and Nashville, you need a permit. So, and that would fit with what you were talking about. So I just wanted to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
that.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, I have nothing else to add except for the fact that I have someone here to represent me, because as soon as I came in, I immediately went and I called Airbnb and had them to shut down my site so that I could no longer have anyone to contact me.
So you're here to represent her in what sort of fashion? Please identify yourself and your address.
Hi, yes. I've just been doing and working with her as far as, so this is actually the second time she had her
Ma'am,
date.
sorry to interrupt, but if you could please identify yourself by name and address for our record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Deborah Brooks. I live at 1515 Bridgecrest Drive, Unit 420, Antioch, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I've been working with Ms. Black as far as trying to get all her paperwork. So her date was off. It was actually after April 2015 when she found this out. She shut down her everything in November 2015 because this is actually her second time. The first time she went to codes, her letters and everything didn't go out. So then she started the process again.
Okay.
And that's when her letters went out. And the only reason we have this here today about the HOA is because they have, what the sign needs to look like. and that, according to the HOA, that sign cannot be posted because you can't put up a sign that's over 2 feet, square feet. So therefore, the guidelines has been set up by the zoning commission for placing a sign. She can't do that.
Okay. So the way this works is we're going to hear from the person who's here in opposition, and then you can come back and respond to what they had to say, okay?
Yes, sir.
So please just go back in the audience, and we're going to hear from the person that's here in the opposition, and then when you come back, you'll have about 11 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please identify yourself, your address, and what is your opposition?
My name is Omid Jamini. I live at 1204 North 2nd Street.
And please spell that for our court reporter.
Sure. Omidyammini.
Thank you.
1204 North 2nd Street, Nashville, Tennessee, 37207. And as far as this case goes, you know, I just, I feel like it's a little bit, I don't want to sit here and say I'm in opposition. I'm not in opposition of this particular person, but I am here in support of you, you know, sticking to the policies that you have in place. You also, as you know, have discretion that you can use in certain cases. This sounds to me, based on, you know, again, what I heard last time, this seems like it may be a little bit more option for discretion. But I would like to just say that, you know, again, one thing that I heard was that, you know, the fact that people are calling Airbnb and they're telling them that they don't need permits is concerning to me. The fact that there are companies operating in Nashville that are getting people to sign up for these sites and letting them do it without permits is concerning to me. And finally, I would say that, you know, although it may say on the Airbnb site that, you know, permits are required in Nashville, obviously, we all know that they're not actually requiring people to have permits to list on their site, because there are, according to the mayor, had the consultant report, and how many illegal did they say? I don't remember the number, but somewhere in 2,000 to 3,000, I believe. So, you know, again, these are things that I think I wanted to kind of share and point out for consideration by the board. And do you have any questions for me on this?
Okay. Any questions from the opposition? Nope. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Let's hear from the applicant again. Please come back. So it sounds like he didn't have any direct things to say about your case, but what, do you have any response, or how do you want to kind of wind this up?
Well, I do agree with him that Airbnb should have that information for us, that we need a permit, not so speaking to where we should go and get a permit, because they wouldn't know that here in Nashville. But I do believe that they should tell, especially if I'm a senior citizen, so they should have informed me, because that's the reason that I hired a professional person to do my website, to make sure that everything was covered. That was the purpose that I went down to the fire department, to have someone to come and check my home for the smoke alarms, and went out and did that because I wanted to make sure that by the law that I was doing the right thing. Now, if Airbnb is allowing people to have short-term rentals and people are not living there, I think that there should be shut down. I agree in certain ways, because when a person is at home, they have control of, you know, traffic and people, you know, not doing any drugs or anything in their homes with you living there with the person. But as far as I had stated before, I wanted to make sure that I did the right thing, and I was glad that they did have a gathering for Airbnb in Nashville for me to be able to find out that I needed a permit to operate my business.
We appreciate you being here. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We're going to close the public hearing. John Michael, we're now time for discussion. So here is a owner-occupied Airbnb, and it sounds like, I guess, since November of last year, when she found out that she didn't have a permit and she needed one, she has stopped renting, and there's been no future activity related to this. So how should we handle this?
Well, I'm not certain if she closed down November 2015 or 2016, but if it were November 2016, that's been, 7 months or so?
Yes.
And it's obvious she has tried to comply. She had the fire marshal in. So I would say that we probably could give her some leniency.
Does anyone else have anything, or who wants to make a motion?
It's too late.
No, public hearing is closed. Okay.
I guess I'll make the motion that the zoning administrator did not err in the denial of the permit, and that the applicant has admitted that she operated without a permit and that she has not rented her home in this length of time, and that we could allow her to have a permit, knowing that she's gone at least 7 months without having income here, and we could allow her to have a permit as of today.
Okay. Motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. John Michael, before we go to the next case, the distinction between owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied came up. Could you tell us what's going on in the Metro Council related to owner-occupied versus non-owner-occupied?
Mr. Chairman, with all respect for our friends at the Metro Council, I'm not entirely confident they could explain to you what's happening in the differentiation between those two.
But there is
That's not a criticism. There is legislation afoot, specifically Bill number 2017-608, which we encourage all interested parties to review, contact their council members, and let them know I'm for it, I'm against it, I'm indifferent to it. The Board of Zoning Appeals doesn't have a final vote on that legislation. The code staff does not have a final vote on that legislation, but the council members do. The council is considering a number of possible amendments to the existing version of Bill number 608, but because it has achieved pending legislation doctrine status pursuant to court decisions with regard to pending legislation doctrine, that is being applied as though already third and final reading passed and signed law. So owner-occupied properties, as they have always been, are eligible for permit applications, and as long as you meet the criteria with the insurance, the notices, et cetera, people are walking out with those permits on an everyday basis. However, the current iteration of Bill number 608 forbids the issuance of most Type 2 and Type 3 short-term rental permits in any properties that are zoned R and RS, or the alternative, RA and RSA. Most other zoning districts, of course, allow the issuance of those permits, with the underlying public policy rationale being that any district that would allow hotel use or other multifamily use is still potentially eligible for the issuance of Type 2 and Type 3 permits. Eventually, the current version of Bill number 608 would also involve a phase-out of existing Type 2 and Type 3 permits in certain circumstances. However, because of the noteworthy degree of detail in that ordinance, I'm hesitant to go too far and try to explain all the details.
Generally wanted you to kind of talk about the legislation. Ms. Black, did you understand our ruling? So basically, you could contact the Codes Department. We have declared that you were eligible to apply again. So there's no waiting period. So as long as you comply with what's going on right now with legislation and everything, and since you're owner-occupied, you should be able to, if you take care of all the other criteria, to get your permit, okay?
Yes, sir.
Immediately.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John
With that,
Michael?
Mr. Chairman, we'll move forward to the next case. Case number 2017-136. The next case here at the Board of Zoning Appeals is, in fact, another short-term rental case. The appellant is Ms. Adrienne Caldwell. The owner of the property is a family trust, the Burton Willie Taylor Family Trust. And this is for the property located at 938 Snow Avenue. Again, technically an item A appeal, challenging the zoning staff's denial of a short-term rental permit, that application having been denied based upon the prior operation of a short-term rental before obtaining the legally required permit. Photograph shown here gives you an idea of the subject property with in relation to the other houses in the neighborhood, and the street view shows you again from the assessor's website. site, the view from the street. Ms. Caldwell, you'll have, is there anyone here in opposition to this case who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, yes, there is. Ms. Caldwell, you have 15 minutes to make the desired presentation. You'll want to save back any of that time you might want to use for rebuttal testimony. And with that, please introduce yourself by name and address.
My name is Adrienne Caldwell. I live at 938 Snow Avenue. And like he said, the home is in my father's name, but I live there with my children. Well, I have children. And last year, I came on hard times with one of my children being ill, and someone suggested to me to open up an Airbnb because the house was large enough and had the extra space. And so I kind of thought about it, and then I listed it on the Airbnb site, and I had one person that stayed long-term, and then another person that stayed like for 90 days, and then one person that stayed for short-term. And I decided that this would work, and it was something that I could work with living in my home, so I went to try to get the permits. And I didn't know that I needed a permit for the owner occupancy at first, but then when I went and got the permit, they looked on the website and saw that I had some reviews, and I immediately closed it down. At that time, it was someone standing there, the 90-day rental standing there. So when that person left out, I haven't rented it to anyone since then. So that's why I'm here today, is hopefully to get a permit so that people can share my home.
Okay. Questions for the applicant?
Yes, how long exactly is that? You just said that's when.
I just started in January this year.
So when did you stop renting it?
Whatever day that I came into the to codes.
Do you remember what month that was?
It was January, February, March.
Okay. And since then, you haven't had any more rentals or any other advertisements or listings?
No.
There's nothing in the future?
No.
Okay.
So you were renting a 90-day rental?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
You were renting only nine.
I had one that was before then, and then a 90-day rental.
So she had a short, under 30 days.
And then
the 190.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? So there is opposition, so we're going to hear from the opposition, and you'll come back and you'll have 13 minutes, 47 seconds to think.
Thank you.
Please come forward. Please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Laura Roast. I live at 4604 Villa Green Drive, 37215. Like Omid Yamini, who spoke earlier, and I didn't spell my name, but do I need to? R-O-S-T is the last name. I've been involved with the short-term rental industry's arrival in Nashville since it arrived, actually prior to that. And similar to Omid, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not sure this is the appropriate time in my, there's no middle ground in these testimonies. I am not opposed, and so it's weird for me to be sitting here during opposition, but I'm not the applicant. I'm opposed to the chipping away, I guess. I'm not opposed to her operating and renting out an extra bedroom. That sounds like the genesis for Airbnb, how it was created, a way to truly share your home and bring in income, keep you in your house, keep your family together. That's the ideal. But what I would like to just get on the record and with your permission, use this as a way of saying that I think anytime these regulations that the city and citizens and council and now planning commission have worked so hard to put into place, when they are chipped away, I know that some of the codes inspectors find it kind of, I don't know if I'd say demoralizing, but kind of depressing at times to see their efforts chipped away. It's the only way I can say it. I don't think that we're undermining them, but I would ask that anytime any of these situations come to you, that you look at them not just in that individual sense, but what precedent you're setting, because believe me, for every applicant you see here before you, not just today, but ever, there are about 10 or 15 lined up behind them that may or may not ever come here because most of them operate outside of the parameters of our guidelines or our laws. But they are watching. And so if there is a continued chipping away of these ordinances and these laws, that has precedent and that has very loud reverberations throughout the Nashville short-term rental community. As somebody who's been outspoken at public hearings, I've testified at council twice and at the Planning Commission once. My house was marked as a house on fire on a map by the local industry. You can go to the nastra.org website and you can see where it says where the complainers live. That's me. I've never filed a codes complaint, so that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about where I live. And so I do feel targeted in a way by this industry. It is an intensely lobbying, intense in their scorched earth policies.
Is that, you mentioned house on fire, is that how it's really described?
It's a red icon, and next to it, there are about 18 of us who have testified a lot, and all of our houses are on their map. And we have a little red house, and next to it, there's a thermostat, and it's all the way at top. It's totally red. It's a hot house.
You're a troublemaker.
I'm a troublemaker for the industry. Mm-hmm. And that's not Airbnb. That's the local organization.
I guess I should have known that when we were in law school, right?
Right. David and I, Commissioner Ewing and I went to law school together. Anyway, that's all I would say is that if there were a way to let her do what she needs to do, but also just set the precedent so that it's not precedent setting, or if there were a way to kind of thread the needle, because everything that BZA does, I mean, it's held up as, I'll just go to BZA, I'll just go to environmental court, I'll get this taken care of. And those of us who've worked really hard to curtail this rise of particularly the short-term rental type 2s are the big problem for us.
So getting back to the larger issue, what do we need to know? Because, we're here to kind of be the appellate arm of somebody who really didn't know the law, and now they're coming to us to ask, well, I didn't know, please give me a permit anyway.
I can't really step into your shoes and tell you how to ask. I think sometimes timelines, I think particularly for the case before this, timeline is a little shaky. I can't really tell when did somebody know something. The industry, it's to the industry's advantage to not comply with local law, as we've seen all over the world. They're trying really hard to get around local laws and suing governments when they enact local laws. So it is uncomfortable, I know, to be the body that has to enforce the local law, because you, as I have, you bring on the ire of the industry. But I think that recognizing that council and the Planning Commission, I mean, right now, I think with the type 2s being off the table for a while that's being negotiated, I think what you're going to start seeing a lot of, maybe today, maybe in 2 weeks, is what I would say is fake type 1s. There are a lot of people in Nashville. I've sat next to them at meetings. Fake news? It is not like fake news because it actually exists. There will be people who have 2 type 1s or 3 type 1s. Well, your type 1 is your primary residence. Mm-hmm. So you can't really have 2, and yet there are a lot of people that have multiples. And I think that's the next frontier. And so I would hope that as you are listening to people, I think this sounds completely legitimate. I think she lives in that house. But I think you hear from people who say they are have applied for a type 1 because that's the only kind that's allowed now, and they're not type 1s.
Well, what I would suggest is someone whose house has been targeted as a hot house or whatever, get people to give us information. We like documentation of violations.
We do. I mean, it's unfortunately the same office that has to, codes is overwhelmed right now. I think we can all universally agree. The police don't want to hear it. They are out solving actual crimes as they should be. It's not their job. And so council hears a lot of it, but again, they just say they are not a formal receiver of complaints, and so theirs don't get a tick against them, I guess. The complaint process is certainly difficult. I think as I say, the new frontier is going to be type 1s that are not really type 1s. And I think if 608 passes and we can get phased out of, so that there are no empty houses in residential neighborhoods. They'll be obvious if it's acting as a hotel, because it'll be empty Sunday to Thursday, and then all of a sudden a family will move, or somebody will come in, not a family usually. Those will be immediately identifiable, and I think that's where that'll be easier to enforce. These next few years are going to be a little gray, but that's where I think y'all, as the reviewers of true type 1s, are really going to. You're going to have to ask the hard questions. Proof that you live there. I don't know. There's documentation that's required at codes to prove that you live there, but it's not that hard to get.
Driver's license, utility bills, things like that.
I mean, it seems to me that those are questions. I mean, I really appreciate you bringing the issues, because it helps us understand a fuller picture of what's going on in this STRP situation. But a lot of these issues are, council issues. I mean, it's Metro Council that tells us what we have to look at to determine if it's a type 1. And if the person has it, I mean, we've had people come before that I think, if I had to bet money, and thank goodness I didn't, I would say there was a little funny business going on, but they met all the requirements that were required by law. They had every single bit of documentation, and, sorry, you can't rule against someone that does everything the law says they're supposed to just because you have some gut feel that they're not telling the truth. You have no proof, there's no evidence. So I think that helping council clarify the law, and from your experience, because I said clearly you all are the ones that are most passionate about this issue, and I think that will help guide them. But make it easier for us to have that type of evidence. And then if there's databases, if you can come and say, hey, this person's said they're type 1, but here are 3 others that they have that are type 1. Well, that's the kind of information that's extraordinarily helpful to us to know, okay, not in this particular case that we're talking about, but in a potential case that would be helpful. And just to clarify, I mean, this is my own opinion about, and a comment about that you made about kind of chipping away and whatnot. I mean, I understand from someone who has a deep concern about the STRP law in Nashville about any judicial, quasi-judicial body making some kind of a judgment on that. But, the way I think this board has always approached the law is to enforce it as best we can, given the parameters we have. And until recently, the law said we had to give a year penalty regardless of how innocent the situation was, and we did that in every single case. And now the law doesn't say, in my opinion, it doesn't say, hey, it's a year unless you feel otherwise. It says the penalty is up to a year. So every single time we make a judgment on this, we are following the law. Mm-hmm. And we may say it's 3 months based on our interpretation. It might be 6, it might be 9, it might be a year. But if it says a penalty up to a year, there's no chipping at anything. It's saying, in this specific case that we're hearing, what does this board today think is the best solution given everything that we've heard? And I think in every single attempt, it's an honest effort to do exactly what the council's asked us to do. And so if you feel like that this board is doing things that we shouldn't, I would really strongly suggest that you go back to Metro Council and say, hey, here's where it's not clear, here's where it's not fair. Here's where we think there needs to be adjustments, but certainly welcome any time you want to come and say on a specific case, here's some evidence that says maybe they're not telling maybe it's a little different than what you really are being told, and that's extremely helpful for us to hear. And again, not trying to argue or anything, but just trying to give you my perspective on what we're tasked to do and how I think we approach it.
Well, and I misspoke. I didn't mean that y'all have been have abused your power in any way. If I gave that impression, no. I didn't take it that way. I'm just saying you used that word enough times where I thought, well, if you're talking about us, I'm going to clarify it. If you're talking about the concept in general and the way the city's taking it and Airbnb and all that, I get the generic point, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew from my perspective how I feel like we handle these things.
I want to support you in your statements, because that is, and we do see majority of our cases are the type 1 property owners that just simply do not know they need a permit. And we've had some really sad cases that we've heard, and council gave us the right to decide the time penalty. So that was something that was changed. We don't see those type 2 cases very often, and when we have, my recollection is we've actually shut those people down. I don't recall any case where we hadn't. So I feel that we're not against council or against planning commission. In fact, I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning. I probably saw you on TV. Watched everybody. I know I saw the opposition out there. I'm sorry I forgot your name with the shirt.
Yamini, yeah. Right.
But we're doing the best we can with what we have. But I do have a question.
And I hope I didn't give the impression that I don't think you are. Just say that.
I have one question for John Michael, or isn't there some legislation out there now that might be pending as well, going to third reading, that requires more proof that someone lives in their owner-occupied property?
There's legislation recently passed that gives more opportunities to demonstrate proof, basically clarifying which sorts of documents can be used to demonstrate that. One important change that was made, I believe, late last year, and it was either under Bill 2016-381 or 2016-492, took away one of the, forgive my frankness, frequently abused available documents, which was certain utility bills. The rationale being if Ms. Sanford and I own 10 properties each around town, we'd probably have the water bill in our individual names at each of those properties. So to bring in a water bill and say, clearly this is my owner-occupied property, is a bunch of rubbish. So that was one that was stricken out, and instead specifically identifying things like passports, things like Tennessee driver's licenses, other state-issued photo IDs confirming an address, certain bank statements, certain employer-issued pay stubs that show your specific address. So there's a little more specificity given to that law. And again, we don't know all of the amendments that are being contemplated for Bill number 608, so it's entirely possible, and I dare say probable, that still further specifications are being contemplated at this time.
I think that was a separate bill, though, with the
653. I think it was.
And the other thing that I would point out, this is a very transparent process for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Our agendas go out at least a week before. Usually they're online. So you could read through and see how many short-term rental appeals that we're having. You can see the applicant and the address. And if you know of any information that we need to know by the time our hearing, email us, write us, call us, and let us be that part of the record when we discuss it. So that's kind of who we are, and we want that input.
Well, an interesting thing too is that we don't see, we did see early on some of these cases where you question whether it was an owner-occupied person or not, and I think as the rules become a little bit stricter and a little bit more defined, then we don't see those cases anymore because they're handled administratively like they most often should be. So when you start to see the types of cases we get, that'll tell you where, where there's flexibility in the law, that in the case that you were speaking on, or you'll see where there's still problems. And I said most of the times in brand new laws, we see a lot of things that we don't see 6 months later because the law is fixed, the rules are changed, and those things that were looked at as loopholes just aren't anymore. And that's part of the beauty of what we do, is we see by people appealing where the loopholes are. So, but like I said, we haven't seen some of those, and I don't think we've seen one of those in at least a year or more. So I think it's self-correcting to some extent.
I think if 608 passes, I think you'll see more, only because I think there will be more type 1s applied for since they're unlimited. And I know we already have cases where there are LLCs applying for them, and they use an agent on the ground in Nashville that has that legal address and is able to show the actual documentation that's required either by 653 or the old 492. And then it's going to be, but again, that's not your job. I realize that. That's going to have to be fixed at the application level to show that it's actually a human being. And that's where, again, it should be easier once 608, if 608 passes and the type 2s are phased out, it should be obvious whether a house is inhabited or not. Now, unfortunately, it falls on the neighbors again. And yes, I could come down here every 2 weeks. It's kind of hard for a job, but it's true, you can usually identify if a house is lived in. And so then it's just going to be a question of enforcement at that end. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Any further questions? Thank you for being here. Ms. Caldwell, come back up. So, and thank you for letting us kind of talk to the person. As she said, she wasn't opposed to your particular case. She has larger issues with the short-term rental ordinance and used this as an opportunity to kind of voice them to us. But what she did say is, according to her, your type of short-term rental is what is acceptable to her, that someone is renting out a room in their house and it's trying to stay in their house and basically make it work. So do you have anything else to say related to this?
Well, I do understand her concerns. And I think more than anything, I think this is a learning process for me. And I learned I need to look at things in more details before I start doing stuff. So that's what's really.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to let her talk longer, and it really even didn't have anything to do with you, because it educates not only you, us, other people about this whole process, and which will continue to be an issue for years and years to come.
Yes.
So any questions, board members? Thank you for being here. We're going to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Anyone have a motion or discussion?
And I mean, I'm happy to move that we find in favor of the zoning administrator that the homeowner did err in renting the property based on the specific circumstances of this case. I believe the homeowner should be eligible for a permit immediately.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Talk to staff. You will be eligible for a permit immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you. John
And
Michael.
again, the only clarification, eligible to apply for a permit immediately.
Yeah,
eligible to
yeah, and I
apply.
did say that, I think.
Yeah, I said eligible, so eligible to apply.
Mr. Chairman, I have for you a zoning case.
Hey.
Case number 2017-137 involves the applicant, Mr. Seth Afote, the appellant and owner of the property located at 308 Filfrey Court, just off of Murfreesboro Road, zoning map shown here, the CS zoned property. The request before the board today is for a variance from rear and street setback requirements. All right, yes, the rear and street setback requirements, and forgive me, this is somewhat dated information as there's an updated version of the site plan, as well as variance with regard to the landscape buffer associated with the placement of the garage door for this proposed auto repair shop. Let's see here. The aerial photo shown here, based upon the red indicator, shows you the small subject property beside a presently developed commercial property. The site plan, and this is the updated site plan submitted by the appellant, gives an idea of the separation and setback established with this revised site plan from the street, shown at the bottom of the screen. There is still the request for a rear setback variance, as well as a variance from the specific standards of the landscape buffer required in conjunction with the now reduced number of garage bays, having gone from 3 to 1. Additionally, it's important to note to the board that there is an off-site parking agreement that has been brokered with the neighboring property owner. Previously, when this case came to the board under its old plan, there was a need for a parking count variance as well. However, that's now been eradicated from the BZA case because they've met the requirement through the off-site parking agreement. The additional portion of the submitted drawings from the appellant demonstrates the proximity to that property and the proposed area in question where they can use the parking. The aerial submitted by the appellant shows in the blue indicator the subject property where they propose to build this space out. From my site visits a number of months ago showing the subject of the property from the street, the view up and down Filfrey Court, and the view directly across the street in the lower right-hand corner. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 137? Seeing none, Mr. Afote will have 10 minutes to make the desired presentation to the board. Sir, if you would please introduce yourself by name and address.
Before we get started, John Michael, there's something in the agenda that talks about garage bay placement. Talk to us about that.
Mr. Chairman, originally the site plan had showed the actual placement of the garage doors being too close to the street. However, this updated site plan removes that concern. Therefore, the only variances sought from the board today are for the rear setback and for the adapted version of the landscape buffer requirement.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, and sorry, Mr. Chairman, having spoken with the urban forester who typically manages landscape buffers like these, he has indicated that while it is appropriate to bring this matter to the board, he does not have any opposition to lodge with regard to that buffer as proposed.
Okay. Please start.
Okay. My name is Seth Afote, and The owner of the property is a friend of mine, and
what is your address?
Oh, sorry. My address is, I use the mailbox address, PO Box 111563, Nashville, Tennessee. And I have a Crossville address, which is 24 Burnaby Court in Crossville, Tennessee.
Okay. Continue.
All right. And so anyway, the first time we submitted this, we were turned down, and we had to make some modifications, which I think will help us be able to, acquire the property and, provide the building or construct the building, and then we can provide the services required for the city. I have also been thinking we can use the ditch area as like a piece of monument to the city, by having a complete culvert. In other words, it becomes like a sidewalk, which will create more wider space over there, for the adjoining area, and then cars to come in through the driveway without much problem. We also try to get the property. I think it was leased, something like that, at the, on the north side, which is shown in the area view over there, and that will also enhance the parking, for the cars that will be serviced. And basically that's about that. It's a very small garage, and our expectation is that it will meet the requirements for the zoning conditions.
Any questions for the applicant?
I don't fully understand it all. I'm still trying to figure it out, but.
Or you don't understand what he's asking for, the rear setback and the.
That's all of it.
So John Michael, can you help us with why it's needed a rear setback? And I think you already talked about the landscape buffer.
The rear setback requirement is 20 for this property. The proposal is for 7, as I understand it. But I'm happy to try to shed more light if need be.
Well, I guess the hardships, why is, what are the hardships why do you need to ask for 7 instead of 20? And
well, that's a very good question. It's because the lot is so small. If we adhere to the 20 feet setback requirement, it takes away it's like half of the building or half of the lot there, and that means we can't build it. And that is the biggest problem. And the reason for the 7 feet request is that there is nothing there other than the ditch and then the street, which is the driveway to the back. So I think the ditch takes like maybe somewhere around 10 feet or more.
So is the ditch on your property?
Well, the ditch is like the outer limits of the property. It's like.
How far is it from your property line, the ditch?
I would say about 10 feet or more. I haven't actually checked on the distance, but it's when the property is there, when the property line is there, the ditch is, maybe another 10 feet or more there. So with the 7 feet inside the property limit, plus whatever that is here, which includes the ditch, we have close to 20 feet right there.
And then the street
not more.
setback requirements, is that the same thing as garage doors facing street required to have buffer at 10 feet, request 6?
That was in conjunction with that, and again, the originally submitted site plan is part of what pulled down from our automatic creation of the agenda here. So the street setback was in conjunction with the garage bay placement, so they've backed that off on this updated site plan, thus negating that need.
But they're still asking for 6 instead of 10?
Again, I'm just reporting on what I've seen from the site plan. I'll let Mr. Afate explain what they're looking for there.
Yeah, elaborate your question, please, again.
Why are you requesting 6 feet of a buffer from the street instead of 10 feet by your garage doors?
Yeah, we have more additional space from the front, the driveway side. And then I think we moved the front wall towards the back a little bit too, so that gives us additional 10 feet and then 6 feet, In other words, we had more than the 10 feet buffer required. I think that was the thing there.
Any other questions? Nothing? Okay.
Well, I may not vote, because it's really not making much sense to me.
Anything for John Michael then?
How far will the building be from the street?
The building is, let's see here. We have the 10 feet, and then from the street we have probably more than 30 feet, I believe, because the driveway side, over the culvert, we have over 20 feet, and then we have the 10 feet there to the building.
So do you know what your street setback, I guess just trying to get to some of the questions that you have. You're asking for a rear setback, and that is, you want 8 feet, you're required 20, but you're asking for 8, right?
I think 7.5, right? Something like that. I think that's
okay.
Yeah.
And then it says street setback. That's the front. Do you know what you're required to have and what you're asking for?
Yeah, the street setback. We are within the street setback. I can't remember exactly how much, but.
So you're not asking for a front setback variance?
No, we are within the street setback, the front side, setback.
So are you asking for a front setback variance or not?
Yeah.
John Michael says there was no street setback.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, it's obvious that which the appellant is seeking is not what staff understood to be the case. Very humbly and respectfully, I would recommend to the board consideration of the possibility of deferral so that we can work further with the appellant, make sure that we're more clear on what it is they seek and what they need vis-a-vis the zoning code and the site plan submitted. Be happy to spend the time myself in conjunction with one of the zoning examiners to do that. Apologize for the inconvenience, obviously, to the appellant who's worked hard to get this together, but it's also very apparent that we're not all on the same page as to what the requests are today.
Yes, we're clearly not on the same page, and so
It sounds like what we're hearing from our staff is that you're close, but not quite there in terms of their understanding exactly what these questions are, and fellow commissioners and myself are also, unless I know exactly, hey, I basically know two. I know the landscape and I know the rear, but it sounds like the street setback, and I think we know parking, but it sounds like that we need to clarify that other. So if it's acceptable with you, we would like to defer this for 2 weeks.
Well, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll
so
make
you'll come. No,
I'll make a motion that we defer this to the next meeting.
I will second.
Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded twice. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of deferring this to the next meeting in 2 weeks signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to defer this to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, the next case to be presented to the board is 2017-139, a short-term rental property case from the subject property 1109 Pennock Avenue. The appellant and owner is Mr. Jared Romano. Mr. Romano is present, if you'll come forward at this time. The item A case is brought based upon a denial of a short-term rental permit application. Permit denied based upon prior operation before obtaining the legally required permit. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 139? There is. So Mr. Romano will have 15 minutes to make the desired presentation to the board. Mr. Romano, please feel free to save any portion you wish for rebuttal purposes. After the first presentation from the appellant, opponents will have the opportunity to come forward and speak. The aerial of the subject property shown here, and the street view from the assessor's website shown here. Mr. Romano, if you'll introduce yourself by name and address.
Yes, Jared Romano, 1109 Pennock Avenue. The issue here is more, at least the resolution I'm hoping for is one of compliance and just a lack of understanding on my end. I have been an Airbnb host. I'm the primary resident, so it would be a Tier 1 issue since February of 2014. So of this time, there was no permits required due to a lack of education on my own. I 100% do the stop work order. So it's not a matter of whether or not that part is correct. My
Can I ask you a question before you go on?
Yep.
You said at the time no permits were required. Was there a time when permits were not required for?
Yes.
There was.
Before we regulated, there should be a copy of the law that created Airbnb permits or short-term rental permits. And John Michael, when did our initial short-term rental law pass? I know it's probably in here.
It's a 2014 piece of legislation that took effect in April in 2015. Code staff started issuing permits, I believe, right at or around April 1 of 2015.
So to answer your question, April 2015 is when we passed the law, and he just said he'd been doing it since February 2014.
Correct. In addition to that, this was issued to me for 25/17. I was at the codes office for 26/17, literally that morning. I went through all the due diligence there.
Okay, can you help me out? Because we just talked about this law had been here since April 2015, and you showed up in April 2017. So
Correct.
For 2 years, you didn't know?
I did not. No,
How'd you find out?
A gentleman knocked on my door and issued me the stop work order. So
I don't think I've seen one of those.
Well, I believe they're new. So I got a stop work order, and as a result of that, I immediately complied with all information given to me, which was to go down to the codes office and apply for a permit, which he said initially would be denied, and we would have this discussion. So next day, actually met with the office, filed for permit. Part of that process was obviously emailing post-mailing all of the other I guess it's half a mile within my home.
600?
Or 600 feet within my home. Complied with that, put the sign up, and I stand before you now to give a little bit of backstory. I'm background in entrepreneurism. I'm a volunteer at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, and actually a board member in the Nashville Investor Club. Okay. And that's just small business, and in relation to this being part of my primary income. So
okay. So the question that you're going to get, that everybody else will get if they come sitting in your position, is when you got that stop work order on your door, did you have future bookings for Airbnb?
I had 22 future bookings.
And what did you do?
I canceled them all.
Every last one of them?
I have proof of that, yes.
How much in this, I'm just asking this out of curiosity, did Airbnb charge you to cancel those?
So technically it's, so they have been less than compliant. Technically it's $100 per cancellation due to this situation and me being, in their verbiage, a grandfathered super host. And again, I'm only renting one room. This is not a whole house issue. This is one room, the upstairs of my 1109 Pennock home. Because I was a 5-star top guy. They have waived all of that, and therefore it's now a matter of having respect for, obviously, your laws, trying to do everything within my power, and then also as a quote-unquote entrepreneur or risk taker in that financial world, just something that I can continue to stabilize and move forward.
I will say we had three letters, and one was a neighbor that I think just didn't like. It didn't say anything about you or your home. It just, I don't want Airbnb in my neighborhood, which is certainly respect, but it wasn't specific to you. And the other two were, I think, your immediate neighbors who said they really didn't know that you rented upstairs because everybody was quiet and good. And
the line that I like from that letter, I had no idea he had an Airbnb. I thought he just had a lot of friends or church members. So
I have a small group there on Thursday nights as part of a local church in town. So there will be the occasional Thursday night, 10 or so people for a small group. But
they're not staying over.
They're not staying the night.
But your immediate neighbors, the letters that they have, it supports your testimony that it's the upstairs room that you rent, that it's not your whole house. You're not having bachelorette parties or not.
No,
that would matter, but they did comment on that, so just wanted to make sure that was on the record.
Any other questions for the applicant before we hear from the opposition? Okay, you will have 13 minutes and 13 seconds come back after we hear from the opposition. Welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Omid Yamini. Do I need to spell it again?
No, we got it.
Okay. Frequent flyer now. You'll be very excited to know that this is actually in my neighborhood. It's about it's a few blocks away, and I did actually drive by and see the house, and I saw the sign out front and kind of respectfully looked around, from the street just to see what was going on. And there's no dadu on the property, so yeah, it is in the primary residence. I have a question for you. So in these situations,
we're really not here to answer.
Okay, well, I'm going to just ask it, and you can tell me if it's not applicable. But you were talking about the evidence, okay? And my question is, when these cases come before you, do you get the evidence that was presented to, how does codes know that they were operating without the permits?
This is a procedural question, and I will throw that to John Michael. So when we get a case that's put on our agenda, just a general case, not talking about this case in general, how does that work, and what information goes to individual board members?
The information that goes to the individual board members is the information that comes to the zoning division's staff, i.e. Ms. Lifsey, myself, the individual zoning examiners, or Mr. Herbert. So when we get that information pertinent to the appeal being brought to the board, we include it in the case file, both in documented, physical documented version and in electronic version. That information is distributed to the board members, typically on the Friday preceding a Thursday BZA meeting, so there's ample time to review and ask any questions that may come up in advance of the meeting. To the implied underlying question, how does such information come to code staff? Any number of ways. Typically, information is submitted from neighbors or other members of the public to codes department staff, whether they be from the property standards division or those of us in the zoning division. On some other occasions, the property standards staff will just find violations, whether in the field or through the websites as they're reviewing with regard to these short-term rental cases. And although my answers to this are generalized to all BZA cases, they are specifically applicable to short-term rental cases here, in that a review of the websites often reveal obvious violations, and in those cases, staff members can submit the needed documentation in support of or opposition to, or just at least an information toward any of the BZA cases that our board reviews.
Okay, so in that case then, so you guys got like printouts of the Airbnb listings or things like that?
We get packets of information.
Okay.
Sometimes it has a previous review. If someone is saying, hey, I didn't rent Airbnb, well, here's a review that said 5 people stayed there and loved it.
Right. That's what I was curious about, what the reviews say, and if they talk about it being for the whole home or just for a specific room, or what the evidence supports what we're hearing.
Sometimes reviews often say, hey, my group of 12 or 14 people loved your house.
Exactly. And we know that the limit is 12, so on and so forth. Yeah. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, and we do get this. And the number of reviews seems appropriate for someone renting a home for 3 years. You look at some of the reviews, I absolutely loved it. Jared's it's friendly, gracious. The upstairs suite is cozy, comfortable, and spacious, and soundproof. So, sometimes you get things that, like David said, that where they said, oh, I never rented it, but you got a review, 10 reviews. And it's like, well,
so none of them
just at random picked it. So there, it's not always complete, but in any letter of support or opposition we get, and so all of those things are things we take into consideration, and usually do our best to compare them to what is said by the and again generically by the appellant or any opposition, and that's in any case that we have.
And if anyone, and this applies to short-term rentals or any BZA case, writes a letter in support or opposition, that goes in our file and we see it. An email, a letter from a council person, it's part of the record.
Sure. Okay. And thank you for answering my questions. And really, again, I'm just trying to understand the process. As you know, by the time it comes up on your docket, trying to find information about this on our side to present to you is beyond the cat and mouse game that this short-term rental world has turned into.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's an important time for staff to intervene in the conversation. There's no cat and mouse. These are public records the minute they hit our offices.
Oh, no.
These files are submitted in full. You email me at my name, email address. Sure. I respond to you with a full case file. End of cat and mouse game. It's public record. You can have it the minute you want it.
I did not mean that it was a cat and mouse game with your evidence. I apologize. I meant a cat and mouse game of us trying to find the listings is what I was referring to.
But sometimes there's nothing there.
That's what I mean. So it's gone. So we don't have.
So we look at these cases individually, and sometimes maybe there is a misunderstanding, or maybe the person should have their license back immediately, or have to wait 3 months. We take every case individually.
Absolutely. The reason for my question, to clarify, is that, again, in your previous discussion, you had mentioned that, you encourage people to find information and bring it to you. And what I was implying was that it's difficult for us as citizens to find the information once it's been pulled from the websites, and oftentimes they're listed at different spots. I mean, there's one that I know is operating 480 feet from my house.
Well, then we have the codes department.
No.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but
sure. Well, okay. Well, what I'm saying is I can't find the listing, and that's
okay.
Let's
talk about this particularly.
Let's move on. No problem.
The fact that there isn't a listing is supportive of the testimony that we've heard, and we have had cases where we have had testimony that people did find a listing, and that resulted in a much stiffer penalty because they were still running the place even though they shouldn't be. And so the fact that there's a listing or not is evidence in itself, and so
So do you have anything else to add about opposition to this particular individual?
Yes, I do.
In your neighborhood?
Absolutely. Again, to me, this is a case where someone is telling you that they are involved and have been doing this since 2014. It's hard for me to believe that living in Nashville and being involved in the investor club and so on and so forth, that at some point, the knowledge of having to get a permit was not there. But again, there's nothing that I can do to prove that. That's something that you would need to consider. But the fact that, again, it's been operating from 2014 through what was it, April 25th, 2017 was the date that the stop work order was issued, and then he came in on the 26th, right? So, I mean, that's a pretty significant chunk of time, and definitely 2 full years from April 2015 when the legislation passed until 2017 of operating without a permit. So I would ask you again to just uphold the rules. That's okay. All.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Let's hear from the applicant again.
I have a question first. I want to ask if you believed what Airbnb told you, that you were grandfathered because you were operating before permits were required.
So twofold on that. One, the verbiage of grandfathering was used in the sense that with the extended superhost, I basically had access to all things, all of the features of, and so the minute that obviously I received this, I called them directly, and that term grandfathering did not exist anymore. Second, my entire hosting ability is really in the phone. Upon logging back into the main website, there's still, at that point, no heading or footer in terms of, and that actually supports Omid's point earlier. As somebody that understands software, the fact that they're operating without at least an input of typing in your permit or things of that nature. So when it comes to my overall knowledge, I was under the assumption, and I'll rebuttal with this, under the assumption that owner-occupied did not require them. Non-owner occupied required a permit. That was the buzz in my community. And I can look across the street to 4 Airbnbs, and I don't know where they sit in that relationship, but it is a popular area for that. And my goal here is to open my hands and find a solution that's appropriate.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
You from Nashville?
I'm actually a recent 4 years now, Nashvilleian from L.A., originally from New York.
You watch TV. I suppose that you watch TV, correct?
I do watch TV.
Have you not seen all Airbnb?
I actually don't. I don't have cable, but so anything local, wouldn't say I'm up on in terms of knowledge.
We would encourage you to join the Metro Nashville Network.
Oh, there we go.
And see streaming of the Metro Council, which has discussed this numerous times in the last few years, and this board too as well. Any other questions? Thank you for being here. We're going to close the public hearing discussion. So I think this is kind of a record, as far as I've heard, 22 cancellations. So as we heard, normally it would be $100 a piece, but I guess since he's been doing it so long, they gave him a little bit of leniency. So what are we going to do with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it falls into the categories of the others. And I do appreciate the folks that have come out to talk about Airbnb concerns today. I don't think any of them were specifically relevant to the 3 cases that we've heard, but again, as this is still a relatively new and ever-changing issue, I think it's worthwhile to have those comments made and those issues raised.
Yeah,
so I do appreciate that, and I know that we gave some harsh comments and some questions and explanations, but I just want to make sure that that's known, and it's just for me to say that. But like I said, when it comes down to what we decide, it's the specific case, and the specifics on this case, to me, are that as soon as the person realized he was doing something wrong, he stopped doing something wrong. He tried to fix it. It's an owner-occupied home. The neighbors support it. The immediate neighbors support it. I'm not saying the neighborhood, but the immediate neighbors support it. And the evidence that on the reviews do coincide with how he said he was using the home. So in this case, I think it's that same type of case we've heard before, and I'm fine with the punishment being what it has been, the cancellations and the time served. So I'm happy to make that motion that we find for in favor of the zoning administrator and allow this applicant to apply for a permit immediately.
Okay.
I second that.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. It passes 5-1. Mr. King votes no. John Michael, next case.
The next case to be considered by the board is number 2017-140. The appellant, Jasmine Hall Coleman, and the owner of the property, 808 Flint Trust, located at 808 Flint Ridge Drive, have filed this appeal before the board requesting a special exception in the R10 zoning district in order to use the existing residence for a daycare home. The aerial photo shows the property here near a cul-de-sac at the edge of this development. The floor plan submitted lays out the existing residence and how they propose to use the area, including the fenced-in backyard. From my recent site visit, the photographs here show the subject's property from the street and the view up and down the subject street in the next slide. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 140? Seeing no one, Ms. Coleman will have the 10 minutes to make the desired presentation after she's introduced herself by name and address. As the board members will recall, these cases are special exception, organized or codified at 17.16. If the appellant demonstrates that they meet all the required criteria, special exceptions shall be granted, not may be granted, if in fact they meet those conditions. And the difference here, of course, with daycare home versus daycare center is that this is actually a residential establishment, different caps, different numbers, and different requirements than the daycare centers.
So, John Michael, before we get started, why is this case on our agenda, and how did you all find out about it?
Why is the case on the agenda? Any daycare home does in fact require permission from the Board of Zoning Appeals for that special exception. How it came to the board's attention, or how it came to staff attention, I'm not sure, but obviously they're entitled to come in and make the application for this use. And it does require the board's approval. It cannot be approved just at staff level.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Let's start. Your
My name
and
is
address.
Jasmine Hall Coleman. I live at 808 Flint Ridge Drive, Rice Creek, Tennessee 37189.
Okay. And what are you here for today?
I am here to have the appeal grant the special exceptional for the child care, the home child care at the local address.
So how'd you get into this business, or why do you want to have a home child care, and what kind of background do you have to do this?
I've been in child care since the age of 18. I do have my associate's degree in early childhood education. I am still attending for my sociology for my bachelor's. I got in it about 2 years ago, doing it in-home with my aunt. She has her license at another location, and in the process of graduating, she just encouraged me to start my own.
And how many people would you have in this home?
Between 7 and 12.
7 and 12. And you would operate, what were your hours of operation?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
Monday through Friday.
Any questions of the applicant?
You're familiar with everything you have to do to the house to make it comply?
Yes, sir.
Fencing and all that, so you're prepared to do all that?
Yes, sir. It's already fenced in. Everything is done. We just have to have the environmental and the marshals to come out, which they did come, but because I didn't have this part done, which we didn't know that had to be actually done up front, we have to start over the process.
We do have a recommendation letter from the Planning Commission, and they recommend approval with conditions. The two conditions that they cite are hours of operation. They say 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the other sign should not be allowed on the property. Questions for the applicant? Do you have anything else? So why 8 o'clock versus 6 o'clock?
Why, 8 o'clock?
Yeah, why'd you pick 8 o'clock to stop business?
No, I did 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh, I thought you said 8 p.m.
Oh, no.
Okay. It sounds like you need your
12
evening.
hours is good enough.
Okay. And you won't have a sign outside or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to ask if you'll have help within the house to help you with, let's say, if you have the maximum number of children, will you have some help there?
Yes, ma'am. It's required 3 staff to 12. Anything above 12, which you can have 3 according to the Department of Children's Services, but they have to be before and after care. But if you have that extra 3, it's required 4 staff.
Okay.
So at all times, if you have 12, 3 will be.
You mean 3 adults
3
for
adults.
12 children?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All have to be background and approved as well.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for being here. We're going to close the public hearing. Let's discuss. Any discussion, motions?
No, I think it sounds fine. I'd asked John a question just because I was curious, and because this is a person who rents a home, and a lot of times our variances or special exceptions go with the home, and for home, apparently, John, well, you weren't here a second ago, but basically for home daycare, it goes with the person who resides. And so if this person leaves, then the home isn't automatically a daycare. So, but other than that, I think it's a great way for folks to have childcare. So I'm happy to make a motion that we approve this special exception for this home to be used as a home daycare.
Do you want it subject to the two conditions?
Yeah, subject to the two conditions by the Planning Commission, which are hours of operation.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, no different than 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or no, you can't exceed the barriers of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Certainly could be within that, and that no signage be placed on the property.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Good luck. You talk to staff probably tomorrow. You could go by, but on your way out, maybe you could kind of whisper a question to John Michael.
Mr. Terminal, let's get you started with the next and final case for today's BZA meeting, case 2017-141. Properties located on 3 parcels beginning at 17 Fern Avenue. Reggie Howard is the appellant. Rowe Properties LLC, the owner of the subject properties. The request before the board today is for a variance. The variance from height requirements, from the number of stories, maximum number of stories for this residential development, and for the raised foundation requirements. This property is located in the RM20A zoning district. The A districts, as you know, carry some unique requirements for bulk regulations compared to traditional zoning districts, and that's part of what comes into play with this proposed development. The request, again, is for 3 duplexes across 3 parcels in that RM20A district. Comes to the board under 1712-020D, 020A, and 020D3F, getting down to the notes at that point. The proposed site plan seen on these 2 slides, and the renderings and elevations. From my recent site visit, you'll see this hilltop property, which, granted this way, looks back toward East Nashville. The street views shown here. And the final view is what's at note here for any height-oriented property or height-oriented request. It's unsurprising to find that this has command views of downtown looking back from east. Is there anyone here in opposition to case number 141? As there are no opponents, Mr. Howard will have the opportunity to make the desired presentation over 10 minutes for the board. Please introduce yourself by name and address. Board members, you've already heard from the district council member on this matter. If there are any questions for staff, let us know.
John, can you flip through again? The screens are out, and I didn't catch most of what you showed.
And John, you mentioned this, so I'll ask you a question since you brought it up. The RM20A, were you implying that most of these, if not all of these requests, are due to the RM20A versus what we might find on, I mean, because this is not an uncommon plan, and it's not, I mean, it looks like it's the 45-foot, the issue we had with the house a couple weeks ago overlooking the city. Why would it have been approved in that district and not this district? Is it?
A district does carry some unique bulk regs. We think of the street setback requirement, for example. In A districts, we have a build-to zone requirement. You have to start within 0 feet to X number of feet, depending on the district. Here, that build-to zone is 0 to 80 feet. So the property can be right up to the property line or up to the right-of-way or whatever it is for 0, but it can be as much as 80 feet back and still be okay in terms of the build-to zone requirement. The height maximum changes if you are, for example, building in the build-to zone, say midway in this case would be 40 feet. At 40 feet, the height maximum is 30 feet. Then there is a step back, which, forgive me, I haven't looked up the step back question. I believe the step back is 15 feet for this zoning district. And after that 15-foot step back, the building can go up to its new maximum of 45 feet. So if the property begins at that 80-foot line, that's the very farthest back they could get for the build-to zone purposes, but they could go straight up to 45 feet at that point. Building somewhere in the middle of the build-to zone, whether it's 0, 10, 20, 50, whatever else, would require a 30-foot height at that spot. The proposal here is for a variance from that guideline such that they could get, as I've got it right, Mr. Howard, I think, 45 feet at the beginning of the building within the build-to zone, looking to go 4 stories instead of 3, as would be required under this zoning district. And then also the foundation height requirement requirement has to be, but the foundation has to be up 18 to 36 inches. The request here is to go in at 0. But to your broader question, those are some of that is reflective of the unique bulk regs that are in place for A districts. I'm not positive that all of them are, but I know at least that Bill 2 zone and the height requirements therein is unique to A districts.
Last question, number of stories. I noticed that that's one of the variances. Talk to us about that.
I'll wind up deferring largely to the appellant here, but the max is 3. They're requesting 4.
Okay. Want to get us started? Please identify yourself and your address.
Good afternoon, Reginald Howard. I own property on 15 and 17 Fern Avenue. And I'm here today actually for the specific reasons of the step back as you go into the 30-foot, going into the 15-foot. Me and my architect, Tarl LaRocco, who has graciously agreed to come with me today to explain the technical issues that we are having with our design. Tarl, if you would like to, could I call him up now? Is that
yes,
okay?
please.
Okay.
And when you come, let me ask you about the how many stories are in this house?
Oh, should I do my name? And
sure, yes, your address.
Name is Tarl LaRocco.
Can you spell that?
All of that. T-A-R-L, LaRocco, L-A-R-O-C-C-O. You need to turn your mic up. Oh,
yes.
Sorry. And address is 124 49th Avenue North in Nashville.
So how many stories are in this house?
The issue with stories has to do with the slope of the lot. Codes determines a story as anything above 6 feet of the average grade. So in this case, what would maybe normally be considered a basement area, because of how the lot slopes, that's considered a story.
Well, aren't you, I mean, this is all about the views, right? So you're probably, Mr. Architect, wanting to kind of have a larger foundation so you could have a larger view on the floors that matter.
Yeah, there are a few issues. One of those is the view. It would be nice. The higher the elevation, the more potential for view. Also, with this being on the hilltop, there is a lot of rock. So any sort of digging into the hillside presents some added challenges and added costs.
But we're limestone everywhere. I mean, your builders would tell us there's rock everywhere when you build in Nashville, not just on hillsides, right?
Correct. There are. There's different levels of rock. Some are easily dug out. Some have to be blasted and or ram-hoed out. Our intention with this property is to try to work with the hillside. One aspect of it that you might see in some of the elevations is we're trying to avoid a front-load garage and do a side garage instead. That alone requires a little more digging out and working with the site, also because of the width of the property and the ability to put that second duplex behind. We have to have access alongside, which narrows the footprint of the structure, which again presents some additional challenges. In order to get the desired square footage, with having that access alongside, we're trying to limit the footprint of the house. Having that step back up above in order to get the same amount of square footage means we have to enlarge that footprint in order to accomplish the same size of living area.
So
are you asking for the variance for just Unit A or for both units?
For Unit A. And we're not asking for a variance on the 45 feet to go higher than that. It's for the that 30-foot height restriction within the first 15 feet.
I mean, the reason it's a height variance is because there's no front setback you're asking. You're just because you're. If it weren't in that district, you'd be asking for a setback or, I think I got it. It's late, but I do think I understand. Thanks.
Other questions?
You're just saying 45 feet is not abnormally high for this lot, it's just where the placement is.
Correct.
I would like to ask, when you use the term desired square footage, where did you get a number? Why did you come up with a number of you have a desired square footage? Are you trying to house a larger number of people? What is your goal there?
No, we're not trying to construct an unusually large house or anything like that. The square footage that we are trying to obtain there is in keeping with what's in the neighborhood around it and with what the market is asking for as far as this type of house.
Well, not having been in that neighborhood, I don't know how, if you were allowed to build higher than the maximum that's allowed, how that would affect the views or the properties around there. Have you some comment about that?
Yes, the height, the restriction on this isn't so much on the overall height of the building. Again, the restrictions of the RM20A, that A designation put some extra restrictions on the property. So the overall height of the building isn't so much of the question. Is basically what they want you to do, for lack of a better word, is notch out the first 15 feet from the front of the building, 15 feet back. They only allow 30 feet of height from grade, which is, in our case, because of the slope of the lot, further exasperates our ability to do some things with the house. After that first 15 feet, then you're allowed to go to the normal 45-foot height restriction.
And it looks like there's a parking lot / cable tower behind you. What is the property behind you?
A cell phone tower.
A cell phone tower is behind you. And so I think that may have been going to Alma's question too, about what does it impact. But I guess, but the other, and again, you got me thinking, I was like, okay, well, how does that impact the folks behind you? But if you have a cell tower behind you, then no one's going to try to build behind you to block a view. But you're really not, as you're on a hill, you're really just saying, I want to be a little closer down the hill and build taller, so it really shouldn't, at the highest point, I guess Unit B, you can naturally go up 45 feet without a variance or out anything. Correct. And so you're not going to be higher than the unit behind you because of the slope of the land.
Correct. The unit behind has the ability, just due to the slope of the lot, has the ability to be higher than the front house.
Help me understand the foundation request and what that means.
The foundation request on that is not our main objective, but if we're allowed some flexibility with that, then we can potentially bring the entire building down a little bit in working with the slope. If we don't have to have a certain amount of foundation up out of ground, if we can start lower with some of our, we will obviously have to dig into the hillside somewhat. So the lower that we can make the overall height of the front building, then that gives the rear building more ability to see up over the top of it if need be.
Why didn't you pursue a rezoning of the site?
It's not needed. We just needed this specific area with the 30-foot height requirement. So it was just one specific thing in the RM20A zoning that we needed to deal with. So
I see three things here.
Well,
height variance, number of stories, and raised foundation variance request.
Yeah, and I'm not sure a different zoning, obviously, if the A designation was removed, then some of those requirements would be removed as well. But we're not trying to change the use of the property at all. And
That's fine. I have a question for our zoning department. The A districts are a newer thing, and Could you tell us why those came into existence?
I know a little bit about that, and the zoning administrator may want to chime in more than I do, but the A districts are relatively new. It's only been in place, maybe 4 or so years now. The idea behind establishment of the A or alternative districts is to create a little more flexibility in terms of design control or bulk regulations. Case in point, if this was an RM20, it would still carry a 3 stories maximum height, but it would have defined setbacks of 20 at the rear, 5 at the side. The building coverage and minimum lot areas would be just as strict and in place. You would not have the flexibility of a 0 to 80-foot build-to zone, and you wouldn't have the benefit of a step back. There would be just a height restriction at that point, and it would be inflexible in that regard. So I think that's actually indicative of the underlying public policy intent behind the establishment of the alternative districts is to create some alternatives to the base regs. I think that the council and the planning department, which serves them capably on these matters, recognize that tons of people were streaming in pursuing specific plan zoning districts for projects specifically like these, and they thought that the utilization of some A districts might actually be something that creates a little more flexibility and prevented the need to go through the sometimes obtuse process of pursuing an SP. And I say that not critically. It's a challenging process for staff, for developers, and for the council to weigh out as well. So that's a little bit of the background as far as how long they've been in place. We're starting to see more and more of them, not just on spot bases, but in terms of broader groups. I think there are a number of pieces of zoning legislation cooking through even right now in multiple districts that would create alternative districts, especially in residential districts, that we've not seen as much of in the past.
So removing the A is not going to help them, and in fact, they're asking for more flexibility than they've already been given.
I don't know that it would help them or not. We didn't analyze it under anything other than what it is.
I guess I'd like to know about why you want to increase the number of stories. I would like to hear some more about that.
The main reason for the 4th story, which I guess would be considered the 4th story, if you will look at the elevations, really that's just to access a rooftop deck. It's just to provide enough to get a stair up there and to access a rooftop deck to take advantage of the views. It's not, the intention isn't to have living space up on the 4th floor and therefore make the mass of the building as a whole larger. And again, if we were working with less slope of a lot than the garage area / basement area would not be considered a story, and therefore that access to the rooftop would be allowed under the current regulations.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, anything else to add?
Good.
So you really consider this a 3-story building with access to the roof?
Correct.
But the way that we calculate stories, it's 4.
Correct.
And it's 45 feet tall the way you measure it, or how are we in the height part?
The overall height is based on the average grade of the 4 corners of the building. From that average grade.
And so what is it in your calculation?
It's more around 42.
John Michael, is this the 38-foot new rule?
I don't think I follow your question, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, he says it's 42, so why does he need a variance? What's the Metro code say?
Again, 30 feet within the build-to zone here in the RM20A district, and then a maximum of 45 feet once you're beyond the 15-foot step back.
Okay.
So if they're coming flush out at the beginning, then 30 foot's within the build-to zone, 30 foot would be the max.
Yep. And if I could add really quick, the measurement for the 30 foot is different than just your typical building height measured from the 4 corners. Mm-hmm. With that A zoning, the 30 foot is measured from the front of the building. Okay. So the other corners are not taken into consideration.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. We're going to close the public hearing discussion. So, of course, this is a case that Councilman Scott Davis also supported and talked about enthusiastically before we got started in our meeting. So, discussion.
I mean, anytime anybody comes with 3 request, it makes you really pause and say, well, what's this about? But then I look at this house and I think, well, I feel like not your specific house, and I know architects are very particular about what their house is and how it's different from others, but it feels like this is a common form that is going on in our city now, where you have kind of 3 stories and a rooftop, and so it's like, well, why is this different, and how much is the RM20A? What was it really, what was it meant to do, and is this something that is going to be in kind of gross violation of that? And it seems like if the fact that you're 45 feet from the street is not an outrageous setback request. It seems like it's in line with the other homes on the street that are being built, and it feels like it's taking a residential approach to it, where it could maybe have a different approach. I guess it seems like, especially with council support and no opposition, not an unreasonable request. Now, I defer to the architects. I don't understand the zero. I think the 0-foot foundation, I think, is one that they won't have flexibility on, and they will have a foundation, but they want to say, well, let's just see what we can do. That's one I'm not so sure about, but the rest of it seems perfect, and because I don't feel like I have the knowledge, but the rest of it seems fine.
Well, there's a reason the zoning code is written the way it is, and when people want to make changes for design reasons, I feel they should go get rezoned and go to planning commission and go through that process. So, there's a reason there's a maximum height in the build-to zone of only 30 feet for this particular zoning. So, and people build into the hills and blast through the rock all the time. It happens on all my projects. So truthfully, I'm not in support of the variance requests.
You're not in support because you basically think their first opportunity should go to be rezoned, but
yes, instead of coming here.
But they're in front of us, and here's the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how I feel.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I look at it a little bit differently, although I'm not an architect. Based on what we can see on the surrounding properties, I understand what he's requesting. I don't think it's abnormal. I'm not comfortable ruling on the foundation part of it or granting that myself. But to me, the height variance seems to be a reasonable request, given that the property behind him is not a residential property.
The cell tower.
Yes.
Why does the foundation bother you?
It doesn't bother me. I just don't know if that's I don't know if that's a safety issue, why the foundation has to be a certain way. If that's merely design, I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know how that works.
Our architects shed any light about the foundation requirements?
I always wondered if it was due to the flooding in 2010 that they wanted to raise the structures, but I am not certain of that.
I think it's a novel solution, and I support it myself.
I'm sorry, do you have thoughts on the foundation?
I'm not going to say no to the foundation, I would say. It's not that I'm opposed to it, I just don't understand it.
Flooding's certainly not an issue on this property.
All right, this is the trend, and, our Nashville skyline is growing and changing, and people want to have a house that looks out on the great Nashville skyline, and I guess count the number of cranes in the evening.
Well, I'll ask our staff if they have any thoughts on how we should think about, because I don't think I've ever had a foundation request, and since I've been on the board, are there any things that we should think about?
I don't know why the foundation issue. It was always my assumption, and that's all that it is, that it was just a design feature. The stormwater regulations regulate the height of their structure, so I feel confident that it has nothing to do with stormwater regs or flooding from 2010. It's always just been my assumption that it was strictly a design feature, but it's been an assumption.
Does anyone have a motion?
Well, based upon the zoning administrator's statements and based upon the evidence that's been presented to us from the applicant, then I would move that we approve both the foundation variance and the height variance within the build-to zone as requested.
What about the stories?
4 versus 3.
Yes, I would move that we approve that.
So all 3 variances are requested.
Height, stories, and foundation, you're
That would
moving
be
to
my
approve?
motion,
Okay.
yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been properly made and properly seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, 4-2. Very good. Congratulations.
Motion passes. Appeal granted. Mr. Chairman, that concludes all the board's business.
And stand with the Predators.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.